Welcome to another episode of Operation 3731, the weekly video series from First Baptist Nixa, dedicated to helping you memorize and meditate upon the Word of God. As we continue our memorization of Romans 8, we come this week to verse 22, where Paul says, "For we know that the whole creation has been groaning together in the pains of childbirth until now." Now, as I've mentioned a number of times in the past several videos, this paragraph that runs from verses 18 down to 25 is all about our present sufferings and our future glory. Every verse deals with one or the other of those themes. In fact, over the past several verses, Paul has been bouncing back and forth between those two themes. Let me show you what I mean. Verse 19 focused upon the creation's future glory. All creation waits for the eager longing of the revealing of the sons of God. So let's put future glory. Verse 20 focused upon creation's present sufferings, right? For the creation was subjected to futility, not willingly, but because of him who subjected it. Verse 21 returned to the theme of the future glory of creation, in hope that the creation itself will be set free from its bondage to corruption and obtain the freedom of the glory of the children of God. Verse 22 then is returning again to the theme of creation's present sufferings. For we know that the whole creation has been groaning together in the pains of childbirth until now. And so these two themes that were set forth for us in verse 18, right? The sufferings of this present time and the glory, future glory, the glory that is to be revealed to us. So there's our present sufferings, there's our future glory, and it's just bouncing back and forth throughout this paragraph. Now, as we've already covered the present suffering of creation twice, right, in verses 20 and 22, I guess we've covered in 20 and a little bit in 21. It's bondage to corruption we talked about. We're going to return to it in verse 22 here, but as we've already covered it twice, verses 20 and 21, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it this week because we're not going to add much in this verse. Rather, I just want to make three quick points. First, I want you to notice the scope of creation's present sufferings. It is the whole creation that has been groaning together in the pains of childbirth until now. In other words, we're not talking about something that affected the earth only. The curse did not merely affect the earth, it's something that affected the entire cosmos. Mars, for instance, was cursed by Adam's fall. Now, in what ways Mars was cursed, we don't exactly know, but we do know that the scope of the curse extends beyond just the earth. It extends to the entire universe. The scope of the curse is universal. So that's the first point. Scope is universal. Second point, I want you to note the state of creation in its present sufferings. It is groaning together in the pains of childbirth. Why? What is making it groan? Well, this returns to the futility to which God had subjected it in verse 20, the bondage to corruption to which God had subjected it in verse 21. Creation, in other words, it was made for God's glory and for man's enjoyment, but instead of fulfilling that purpose, it is unable to glorify God as it ought, although Psalm 19 says that it still manages, the heavens still manage to declare the glory of God, but not as it ought. And in fact, the creation even seems to actively work against mankind rather than working for our enjoyment. We think of droughts, famines, hurricanes, tsunamis, pestilence, plagues, entropy, and the second law of thermodynamics, which basically says that the universe exists in this closed system and that everything is winding down, it's losing energy, it's moving from order to chaos. All of these are involved in that futility, that frustration, that corruption of which Paul speaks. And it's because of these things that the whole creation is groaning together. So the state of creation is one of groaning. And then third, I want you to notice the metaphor that Paul employs in this verse. And that metaphor is one of childbirth. And that's important because it points once again to the future glory that creation will enjoy at the revelation of the children of God. Creation is groaning, but it's not merely groaning in pain, as if pain were the end of the story. Remember, God subjected creation to futility in hope. And this groaning is a groaning that takes place in hope. Well, what hope? The hope of childbirth. Creation is groaning in the pains of childbirth. All of that futility, all of that corruption, all of that frustration, every famine, plague, earthquake, tsunami, and the rest, these are like contractions that will eventually, at the return of Christ, result in the birth of a new heaven and a new earth. In other words, creation will be regenerated. It will be born again when the children of God are raised and revealed in glory. In verses 23 to 25 then, which we'll come up to in the coming weeks, Paul will turn from the present sufferings and the future glory of creation. Okay, so 18 to 22 have dealt with creation in its present sufferings and future glory. And in 23 to 25, he'll turn his attention to the present sufferings and the future glory of the children of God. But today I just want us to meditate upon the fact that God is preparing a place for us. A place that is perfect, pristine, where we will dwell in His presence in the fullness of joy forever and ever. One day, at the return of Christ, our bodies will be regenerated, raised, and glorified. And so will the physical creation be regenerated, raised, and glorified with us. So as we close, let's say Romans 8:22 aloud together and inscribe it upon our minds. For we know that the whole creation has been groaning together in the pains of childbirth until now. For we know that the whole creation has been groaning together in the pains of childbirth until now. Then let's put it together with verses 18 to 21 and begin building this whole paragraph into our memories. For I consider that the sufferings of this present time are not worth comparing with the glory that is to be revealed to us. For the creation waits with eager longing for the revealing of the sons of God. For the creation was subjected to futility, not willingly, but because of Him who subjected it, in hope that the creation itself will be set free from its bondage to corruption and obtain the freedom of the glory of the children of God. For we know that the whole creation has been groaning together in the pains of childbirth until now.